Welcome back, everyone. Sharpen your lances, lace your gorgets, and find your courage. Because Episode 5 of Night of the Seven Kingdoms rolled out the Trial of Seven like the realm's own Super Bowl, only the confetti is dust. The halftime show is a Septon's prayer, and the losing team doesn't walk away. It's a glorious day to be Sir Duncan the Tall, and a brutally cruel one to carry a dragon in your blood. With House of the Dragon boiling toward its third season, and this corner of the timeline edging into Targaryen aftershocks, the family's luck feels thinner than a dented helm. You can hear the old songs promise destiny. But this hour says, destiny can slip on a pebble and crack its skull. The fight is thunder, but the heartbreak is Baelor Breakspear. He's the Ned Stark of this story's first act, the rare heir who can swing a sword and steady a council, a prince who carries duty like a favorite cloak, not a chain. He should have been the king who rights the ship. Instead, he dies the way real tragedies happen, not by betrayal, but by a mistake that robs everyone. Maekar, his own brother, throws a perfect practiced mace strike meant for an enemy. It lands on the wrong truth, Baelor's skull beneath a helmet that isn't his. He wears Valar's, and it rides too high, leaving the back of his head unguarded. In slow, gutting motion, you can almost see the hinge fail, the lip of steel skim where it should have cupped bone. One wrong fit, one bad second, a future erased. If Baelor had worn his own kit, the history books get a different cover. Instead, the realm is left mashing F to pay respects and whispering that the gods don't need malice to break you. The title, In the Name of the Mother, stretches a hand back to Dunk's beginnings, to the first time someone chose mercy over law and saw a boy worth saving. In flickers and fragments, Sir Arlen barks the knighthood's prayer while pulling a half-wild Flea bottom kid out of the jaws of the City Watch. Be brave. Be just. Protect the innocent. Protect women. The show doesn't treat those words as piety. It paints them as a rope thrown to a drowning boy. Arlen lives that oath without flourish. He doesn't lecture. He lifts. When we come back to it throughout the hour, when Dunk is on his knees counting stars that aren't there, that vow functions like a heartbeat under the chaos. The mother isn't a statue. She's a choice made again and again. Before lances drop, Baelor ushers his seven to a table like a sept in miniature, the gods arranged in flesh. It's not pomp, it's practical. He speaks like a man who knows two kinds of winning, points on a board and lives saved. Survival, not slaughter. Force the yield. Don't chase glory. Let the Kingsguard face him. They cannot harm him and still call themselves what they are. Lionel Baratheon lets a storm cloud of a chuckle roll across the table and needles the Targaryen family lore about favorite sons. On the surface, it's a jab to ease nerves. Beneath it, it's a thread tugged loose. The joke hangs in the air and foreshadows the blow neither brother will forgive himself for, the kind of wound that makes a household speak in whispers for a generation. The Trial of Seven doesn't stumble out of nowhere. It walks on andal bones and faith of the seven ritual. The Septon's blessing spills into the dust, and the charge ignites. Hooves hammer, pennons snap, and 1,000 eyes narrow to the needlepoint where two lances will meet. Arion rides like a prince, trained to make a man look foolish, forever hoping. He takes Dunk on the tilt, then follows with a mace that turns weight and leverage into cruelty. Dunk eats the dirt hard. He isn't a jouster polished in tilt yards. He's a man who learned balance in alleys. The camera clings to the ring in his ears, the breath knocked out of him, the smear of the world turning, and that's how the episode smuggles memory in through concussion. Suddenly, we're on Redgrass Field, or what's left of it. Not grass, but iron, fly buzz, and the color that keeps blacksmiths in work. Lannister crimson and Tyrell green banners flutter like smug ghosts over a plain where all colors ended up the same shade of brown. Dunk and a friend, Wraith, work at the terrible arithmetic of scavengers, fingers numb and hearts harder than they want them to be. They try to lever a knight from under a dead horse and find there's no good way to do it without breaking something else. You can taste metal and bile. You can hear the crows debate who gets what. The highborn are hauled away with songs and silk. The lowborn dissolve into the weather. Everyone whispers names like they're warding spells. Demon Blackfyre lies dead by Bloodraven's call and the raven's teeth's rain of arrows. Brynden Rivers, one day a spy master so pale he makes rumors look tan. Here just a man with a bow and conviction. Demon's heirs fall around him. Aegor Bittersteel gallops off, a promise of more grief, and in his dust trail you can almost sketch the sigils of a company yet to be golden. Wraith feels the front edge of the next storm and points at it with words. He knows trouble doesn't end when men stop swinging. Back in the capital's undergut, the lessons keep coming mean. A gold cloak named Alistair tries to pry coin out of the poor with the freedom the badge gives him. Later, he's missing a hand, and the irony tastes like copper too. Gold that's supposed to reflect honor ends up bought and sold. The main series' gilded Kingsguard weren't always that way, but rot spreads from one glittering corner to the next. Even the Queen's palate, Miriam Martell, sharp-tongued and sharper-eyed, gets a laugh at bad ale and worse-class divides, but the punchline is always the same. The realm's problems wear brocade and stink of smoke. Then Cedric torches a chunk of Flea bottom because tragedy breeds cowards who want to kill the thing that reminds them. Puddin' dies by accident and the repayment is fire. Screams comb the alleys. Pitch crawls up timber. Dunk's world is a grindstone that doesn't care who it sharpens. He carries Wraith's death like a rock in a boot. Every step a reminder, every ache a nudge to do better than the men who made this mess. When he tails Sir Arlen, it isn't a plan. It's hunger putting one foot in front of the other. Chestnut, Sweetfoot, and Thunder are just horses to anyone else. To Dunk, they're a census of hope. He thinks about theft. He chooses not to. Choice is the brick. Resolve is the mortar. Arlen knows he's being followed and lets the lesson play out. He calls out in an Associ tongue from battles he'd rather forget, testing whether this shadow has ears for more than coin. And then, mercy again. Water given. A command to stand. Not a sermon, just a hand on a shoulder. That's the moment the episode knits past and present together so tight you can't see the seam. Egg's voice does the rest, cutting through the fog in Dunk's brain like a bell. Get up. The fight changes shape. Arion glides like a man born on horse flesh and trained to turn an opponent's size into a trap. Dunk fights like a dock pile with fists. Precision meets grit, and grit refuses to let precision be the whole story. Arion pokes holes in Dunk until he's got more leaking than a bad wineskin. Dunk keeps moving. Clumsy, relentless, furious, alive. There's an awful comic beat where a blade almost ends an entire Targaryen branch before it germinates, and Maekar cries out like any father would, titles forgotten, lineage reduced to a simple, terrified plea. And then, miracle of the small kind, Arion yields. It's not mercy, it's survival. The brutality stops because the man who loves violence suddenly loves living more. The arena keeps humming, but a different sort of noise creeps in at the edges, the sound of fate clearing its throat. Because in the background, exactly when the story could have declared victory, it springs the trap it's been building. Maekar's mace finds Baelor's borrowed helmet. Beesbury dies elsewhere in the melee, but the old history of these trials, the one where Maekar stood atop a hill of bodies and called it justice, doesn't repeat with a full chorus. This time, the gods allow a single surgical cruelty. It's almost kinder until you see who it chooses. Right after the combat, with the world still wobbling, Baelor speaks to Dunk. The book lovers feel the line of ink drawing right onto the screen as Dunk offers his service, and Baelor accepts it with that measured warmth we've come to trust. And then the helmet lifts, and an entire field goes silent. The wound is obscene in its simplicity. The realm's hope has been sitting there, smiling through a shattered skull, finishing his business before the bill comes due. Darren's dragon dream stops being a riddle and becomes a ledger. The dragon on Dunk's chest wasn't symbolic smoke. It was Baelor, heavy as guilt, draped over the man who wanted to guard him. The law has no feelings about tragedy. King Darren II still breathes, so the crown doesn't leap quite yet, but the path changes. The heir presumptive becomes Valar, the son whose helm failed his father. Maekar and his sons, Arion, Aemon, and yes, the Maester Aemon you'll meet beneath a wall of ice one day, slide down the list. The courts will not brand Maekar a criminal. The septs will not pronounce an anathema. But the realm carries stories in its marrow, and Kinslayer is a stain that doesn't wash out. Years from now, an old man in black will remember a father who felt a crown like a hot horseshoe pressed into his hands and wondered if the gods had bent destiny into punishment. Whether the iron ever truly deserved Maekar, grief sat the throne in his chest from that day forward. This hour is a fulcrum. Faith meets tactics. Ceremony meets chaos. An oath meets a family name. An accident, plain, stupid, human accident, meets the kind of destiny bards like to pretend is bulletproof. The helmet didn't fit. That's the image the episode chisels into stone. No wonder the title kneels to the mother. Mercy is the only answer to a world where misfit armor can kill a better future. For Dunk and Egg, it's a forge fire. Dunk learns what a real knight looks like and what it costs to try. Egg watches the line between prince and person collapse and sees the price of pride measured in blood. For the Targaryens, the dragon loses a head it can't regrow. When a realm loses the king it never got, when it feels the echo of the best-case scenario vanish, what comes next? Do they double down on pageantry to fill the absence? Or do they listen to the mother and make kindness policy? The gods are silent. The crowd disperses. The dust settles over a table with one chair forever empty. The future, like a helmet, has to fit someone. If it doesn't, the blow waiting in the wings will find the gap.